So welcome back, grade 9. Here we are on the Google Classroom. If you go to classwork today, we have an assignment. We can open it up and take a look. I'd like to go through it with you. So the assignment says, question 1, interpret each of the following sources, then connect them to each other and the theme of consumerism. So there's 2 sources, so you're going to get a mark out of 10 for each interpretation of each source, so 10 and 10, and then 10 for the relationship. For each source, these are some of the steps that you could do to interpret it. And the sources are 2 that we've looked at this week. So I thought, why not do some of this stuff together for a moment? So what is the theme? So what I might do is, I might do it step by step and just do some planning, right? Do some brainstorming. So what is the theme? I look at this first source, and one of the themes is happiness, right? So we see the word happiness. So the theme is, the pursuit of happiness. That's a theme. But related themes are, trying to pursue happiness through hard work, trying to pursue happiness by earning money and buying stuff. So being that we see this buying more stuff and then the repetition of what the rats are up to, the theme is also consumerism. So lots of themes here. What is or how can we pursue happiness? What is our purpose? What is the purpose of our lives? Is it to consume items? Or is there more to life? Is there more to happiness than consumption? So that's some of the themes I can see there. What is the problem presented? So the problem presented here, if the goal is happiness, is that they're not achieving it. That these rats, who are being used to symbolize people, they're being led to believe that by working hard and earning money and consuming items that they will reach happiness. It's just around the corner. But each time they go around the corner, they're enticed to work harder again, earn more money, and buy more stuff, and then just around the corner. But each time they keep going around the corner, they never find happiness, and you can see the effect that it has on them. That they're living in misery, that they're getting exhausted, and they might be anxious, and all of those negative things that we as humans wrestle with. The cartoonist has used the rats to show us that we are in this metaphorical rat race. We're like animals in a cage, that we don't realize that there is no escape if we continue to do the same thing that we're doing. And no doubt it's on a repetitive loop. So if you keep going, there's no end of the maze. You just go back to the start and you keep going around again and again and again. So we want to look at, what is the problem presented? Well, the problem presented is that the way we live our lives is not leading to happiness. That consumerism is not a path to happiness. The problem is that a lot of people in our society are dealing with mental illness. They're dealing with social illness. They're dealing with some illnesses that may be exaggerated because of the life situations that they're being put into. That these people are exhausted. They have very little time for leisure. They have very little time to be happy. And when you're exhausted, other things can become very overwhelming. So lots of good things to unpack there. Why is the problem important and significant? Well, this problem might be important or significant because most people would set happiness as a life goal. That's why it's significant, is most people would say, well, I don't care what I'm doing as long as I'm happy. Where do you want to live when you're older? Well, as long as I'm happy. What do you want to do for a job? Well, I hope to be happy, right? So a lot of people use happiness as a goal, and the cartoonist is suggesting that we're not going to get there pursuing this Western lifestyle. The significance is, if we only have one life, then if happiness is the measurement of a good life, then how do we get there? And if consumerism is not the path, then maybe we need to have a course correction and find another path. So what is the solution we can infer? Well, although the cartoonist never outright states it, we can infer that this path that the rats are on is broken, that it's never going to function for them. They're never going to achieve happiness. So the solution that we can infer is that they need to stop being on this cycle of working hard to make money to consume stuff. That consumerism is not the path to happiness. The solution is that they need to replace consumerism with something else that may lead to happiness. Maybe it's leisure time.
Excuse the interruption at this time. If there's any students who need retakes in the rooms numbered 151 to 162, can you please go to room 156 at this time? Again, that's if you need your photo taken and you are in rooms numbered 151 to 162, please go to room 156. Thank you.
If anybody in here, being that we were in 160, needs to get a retake and didn't get one this morning, 156 is right next door, right to the west. So, solutions that we can infer would be that they need to have a paradigm shift. They need to change their path. They need to stop seeing consumerism as a means to an end. If the end is happiness, consumerism is not the means that is viable, because it will never lead to actual happiness. We've been looking at those labels and the actions and the characters, and we understand that the rats represent people. We can talk about a bias. There's an anti-consumerism bias here. We watched a documentary yesterday that said, you know what, happiness can be bought. This is not saying that. The documentary yesterday said outright happiness can be bought. So maybe it's not consumerism that's the problem, it's what are they consuming? And who are they consuming it for? So not everybody would look at this cartoon and agree. So part of your interpretation would be to expose the bias, expose the assumptions and the values, the limitations of the source, and say, you know what, society's divided on this. There are people that would be opponents of this source. They would disagree with this source. You can also talk about any evidence that would continue this perspective. Are they right? Is the cartoonist right that happiness is not achieved through consumerism? So do interpret the source, go through these steps, and then repeat with the next one. And then the next one is that quote that we have dissected together also this week. And whenever you have a quote, it's not about, oh, this guy's wearing a black shirt or anything. Just deal with his words, please. And do break it down section by section. Advertising tries to stimulate our sensuous desires, converting luxuries into necessities. So, what's the importance of a necessity? Why are necessities important? And why are luxuries not important? And why would companies try to tell us that this luxury is actually a necessity? And I want you to attach ideas like we're being manipulated here. That advertisement is manipulating us to believing that luxuries are actually necessities. And then you need to wrestle with this idea of how would it intensify our inner misery? How does it create a hunger that can never be solved? Why does it lead to frustration and broken minds? And as you do all those steps we did with the first one, as you do with this one, I think you're going to begin to see some parallels. And that's the third paragraph. In the third paragraph, you relate them. So in the relationship, you talk about, is there a common theme? And of course there is. The common theme here is consumerism. The common theme here is, how can we overcome misery? How can we achieve happiness? And sometimes there's things within one source that appear in the other source. Another common theme or another relationship here is source 2 talks about advertising. Source 1 shows advertising. That's a relationship. Source 2 talks about misery. Source 1 shows misery. Although source 2 is using people and source 1 is using rats as a metaphor for people, it's still talking about misery. The business world is bent on creating hungers which its wares never satisfy. So our hunger to consume is never satisfied, is being stated here. In here, this journey is never ending. So they'll never achieve happiness, they'll never be satisfied because they always keep going around another corner. It's saying the same thing as this one, where it says that our hungers will never be satisfied. So that's another way that you create those relationships. When in source 3 it says our hungers are never satisfied, that reflects the sentiment shown in source 1 that the rats keep going around the corner looking for happiness and it's never where it's promised to be. That it's an unending cycle. So that's the first assignment today. Second assignment today, and do spend about half your time on each assignment. I want you to simply write some reflections about consumerism. And again, keep in mind, both of these assignments are open notes, open textbook, open Google Documents. I told you bring headphones, so if you need to, you can re-listen to what I'm saying now and re-listen to stuff from earlier in the week. But I want you here to sum up that. Why would somebody say consumerism's a bad idea? And you can probably borrow some ideas from here and here if you want for this part. But there should be other stuff in your notes from this week. And then simply, why would somebody say it's good? Because I don't want you to leave here this week just saying consumerism's bad. If it wasn't for consumerism, most of our moms and dads wouldn't have jobs. You know, consumerism has benefited modern society as well as hurt it. So I want you to see both sides of consumerism. 150 words. I'm not going to count the words. I'm just trying to give you some kind of estimate. So what is 150 words? 250 words is a page double space. So I'm saying, you know, about a half a page. So a paragraph, really. But not a 3-sentence paragraph, maybe a 5 or 7-sentence paragraph. So this is what we're up to today. It's open notes, open textbook, open internet, open all the documents I push out to you. And on Monday, we will be doing the multiple choice. And then we'll be moving on to chapter 8. So if you happen to get done this chapter 7 stuff today early, then I'm going to say, have you finished your chapter 7 worksheet? And probably you're going to say yes, because if you've done this early, you're probably have been speeding through that too. Then I might say, well, then I would recommend that you study chapter 7 for the evaluation on Monday. Any questions before we get started? So I appreciate that you're here. I'm amazed that we are so close to the end of the quarter already, and I know you're going to do some good stuff. Ask me for help if you need it today, and we will take a mass break. Not at 1:10, because that's not really a halfway point. Maybe a little bit later, like 1:20 or 1:25. All right, enjoy the assignment. And just hand it in through Google Classroom when you're done.